Hello students, welcome to the lecture on competing theories of entrepreneurship. And after this lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the theories of an entrepreneurship. Discuss Entrepreneurial Development Program. Understand the Entrepreneurial Development Program in India. Describe government policy towards small-scale industries. Define the entrepreneurial input. Let's start with some basic introduction. Entrepreneurship is considered to be a vital component in the process of economic growth and development for various reasons. It is a mechanism by which society converts technological information into products and services. Corporate entrepreneurship is thought of as rejuvenating and revitalizing existing companies. It is brought into practice as a tool for business development, revenue, growth, profitability, enhancement, and pioneering the development of new products, services, and processes.
Business on a human scale. That it is possible to make money and do something good for the community. That idea is called social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is a new and creative approach to business, social engagements, and social services. Today, there are numerous organizations operating worldwide and in our country that we call social enterprises. A social enterprise is just like any other business. Its work is charged at market rates and it generates profit. What makes it a business on a human scale is the way that profit is used. Profit serves to fulfill clear social missions. Social enterprises do not serve to enlarge the wealth of their owners or shareholders. They operate in order to contribute to social equality and to improve the living conditions of people in the community. Generated profit is reinvested in the business or in realizing social goals like job creation, social inclusion, cultural needs, healthcare, and preservation of the environment. A social enterprise places social goals ahead of increased profit, uses business as a means of social change, resolves social problems through market strategies. Social entrepreneurship is also a good way for civil society organizations that want to reduce their dependency on donor assistance and gain greater financial and operational freedom. Starting a social enterprise is a challenge for all those to whom profit is not the only goal.
So let us discuss some of the main theories of entrepreneurship in detail. Entrepreneurship function of innovation. Joseph A. Schumpeter for the first time put the human agent at the center of the process of economic development and assigned a critical role to the entrepreneurship in his theory of economic development. He considered economic development as a discrete technological change. The process of development can be generalized by 5 different types of events. Firstly, it can be the outcome of the introduction of a new product in the market. Secondly, it can be the result of a new production technology. Thirdly, it may arise on account of a new market. Fourthly, it may be the consequences of a new source of supply. Fifthly, it may be due to the new organization of any industry. According to Schumpeter, development is not an automatic process, but it must be deliberately and actively promoted by some agency within the system. Schumpeter called the agent who initiates the above changes as an entrepreneur. He is the agent who provides economic leadership that changes the initial conditions of the economy and causes discontinuous dynamic changes. By nature, he is neither technician nor a financier, but he is considered an innovator. Entrepreneurship is not a profession or a permanent occupation, therefore, it cannot formulate a social class like capitalists. Psychologically, entrepreneurs are not solely motivated by profit. Entrepreneurship, an organization building function, Frederick Harbison states that the organization building ability is the most critical skill needed for industrial development. According to him, entrepreneurship means the skill to build an organization. Harbison spots the crux of entrepreneurship in his ability to multiply himself by effectively delegating responsibilities to others. The main features are: unlike Schumpeter, Harbison's entrepreneur is not an innovator but an organization builder who must be able to harness the new ideas of different innovators to the rest of the organization. Such persons are not always the men with ideas or men who try new combinations of sources, but they may simply be good leaders and excellent administrators. Harbison's definition of entrepreneurship lays more stress on the managerial skills and creativity so far as organization is concerned. Entrepreneurship function of managerial skill and leadership. A person who is to become an industrial entrepreneur must have additional personality traits. In addition to being motivated by the expectations of profit, he must also have some managerial abilities, and more important, he must have ability to lead. Horslitz maintains that financial skills have only a secondary consideration in entrepreneurship. According to him, managerial skills and leadership are the important facts of entrepreneurship. He identifies three types of business leadership in the analysis of economic development of underdeveloped countries: the merchant money lender type, the managerial type, the entrepreneur type. Entrepreneur function of high achievement. McClelland states that a businessman who simply behaves in traditional ways is not an entrepreneur. Moreover, entrepreneur role appears to call for decision making under uncertainty. McClelland identified two characteristics of entrepreneurship: firstly, doing things in a new and better way, and secondly, decision making under uncertainty. Persons with high achievement would take moderate risks. They would not behave traditionally. No risk. The high achievement is associated with better performance at tasks which require some imagination, mental manipulation, or new ways of putting things together, and such people do better at non-routine tasks that require some degree of initiative or even incentiveness. Entrepreneurship function of social, political, and economic structure. John Kunkel states that the industrial entrepreneurship depends upon four structures which are found within a society or community. Limitation structure. The society limits specific activities to members of particular subcultures. This limitation structure affects all the members of a society. Demand structure. The limitation structure is basically social and cultural, but the demand structure is mainly economic. The demand structure is not static and changes with economic progress and government policies. Opportunity structure. This structure is necessary to increase the probability of entrepreneurial activity. Labor structure. Kunkel argues that the labor supply cannot be viewed on par with the supply of other material conditions like capital. Entrepreneurship, input completing, and gap filling function. Liebenstein identified gap filling as an important characteristic of entrepreneurship. In economic theory, the production function is considered to be well defined and completely known. But the theory is silent about the keeper of the knowledge of production function. Where and to whom in the firm this knowledge is supposed to be available is never stated. It is the entrepreneurial function to make up the deficiencies or to fill up the gaps. These gaps arise because all the inputs in the production function cannot be marketed, because some inputs like motivation, leadership, etc. are vague in their nature and whose output is undermined. This gap-filling activity gives rise to a most important entrepreneur function, namely input completing. He has to marshal all the inputs to realize final products. Entrepreneurship function of group-level pattern. Frank W. Young was reluctant to accept the entrepreneurial characteristics at the individual level. According to him, instead of individual, one must find clusters which may qualify itself as entrepreneurial groups, as the groups with higher differentiation have the capacity to react. He defined creativeness or solidarity as the degree to which the members of the group create, maintain, and project a coherent definition of their situation and differentiation in defined as the diversity as opposed to coherence of the social meanings maintained by the group. When a group has a higher degree of institutional and occupational diversity relative to its acceptance, it tends to intensify its internal communication, which gives rise to a unified definition of the situation. Let us now move further and talk about Entrepreneurial Development Program. Entrepreneurial Development Program means a program designed to help a person in strengthening his entrepreneurial motive and in acquiring skills and capabilities necessary for playing his entrepreneurial role effectively. EDP is primarily concerned with developing and motivating entrepreneurial talent and growing him to be an effective entrepreneur. An entrepreneur makes use of the factors of production to the fullest advantage of the society, create innovations, generate employment, improve the standard of living of people, develop backward areas, etc. EDP has an important role to play in solving the unemployment problem. The objectives or the need of EDPs to formulate project, to select project, product, to analyze the environment, to acquire the basic managerial skills, to understand the process and procedure of setting up of enterprise, enable to communicate clearly and effectively, develop a broad vision about the business, enable to take decisions. Phases of entrepreneurial development program. An entrepreneurial development program consists of 3 broad phases. Initial or pre-training phase. This phase includes the activities and the preparations required to launch the training program. The main activities are creation of infrastructure for training, preparation of training syllabus, tie-up of guest faculty, arrangement for inauguration of the program, designing tools and techniques for selecting the trainees, formation of selection committee, publicity campaign for the program, development of application form, pre-potential survey of environmental opportunities. Thus, pre-training stage involves the identification and selection of potential entrepreneurs and providing initial motivation to them. Training or development phase. During this phase, the training program is implemented to develop motivation and skills among the participants. The objective of this phase is to bring desirable changes in the behaviors of the trainees. The trainers have to judge how much and how far the trainees have moved in their entrepreneurial pursuits. Content of training program. The main training inputs are as follows. Technical knowledge. Once the entrepreneur selects a particular enterprise, the technical aspects of the trade is essential. He needs also know the economic aspects of the technology, including costs and benefits. Achievement motivation training. In order to develop human resources, development of achievement motive is essential. The purpose of AMT is to develop the need to achieve, risk-taking, initiative, and other such behavioral traits. Market survey. The participants should be given opportunity to actually conduct market surveys for their chosen project. Managerial skill. Once a participant is able to start the enterprise, he requires managerial skills. It is particularly essential for a small-scale enterprise who cannot afford to employ specialists in different areas of management. Project preparation. A lot of time needs to be devoted to the actual preparation of project. Their active involvement in this task would provide them necessary understanding and also ensure their personal commitment. Post-training or follow-up phase. This phase involves assessment to judge how far the objectives of the program have been achieved. Monitoring and follow-up reveals drawbacks in the earlier phases and suggests guidelines for framing the future policy. In this phase, infrastructural support, counseling, and assistance in establishing new enterprise and in developing the existing units can also be reviewed. Some of the major institutions for the EDPs in India are Entrepreneurial Development Institute of India. The Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India is an apex entrepreneurship institute promoted by Industrial Development Bank of India, Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, Industrial Finance Corporation of India, and State Bank of India. The institute enjoys acute support of Government of Gujarat. The institute has been operating for the past more than 15 years now. National Institute for Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development NIES BUD. The National Institute for Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development is an apex body established by the Ministry of Industry, Government of India for coordinating and overseeing the activities of various institutions, agencies engaged in entrepreneurship, development and small industry and small business. Madhya Pradesh Consultancy Organization Limited. This is a technical management consultancy organization. It was promoted by all India financial institutions and state corporations. It undertakes assignments for project planning, detailed engineering, market surveys, management surveys, and entrepreneurship development programs. Calcutta Y Self-Employment Center. This center was organized as registered society by a number of prominent industrialists, businessmen, bankers, professionals, and social workers. It was set up in response to rapidly increasing unemployment and social unrest in Calcutta. It began as a vocational program to provide self-employment for educated youths. It has developed innovative approaches to help people set up their own business. Technical Consultancy Organizations, TCOs. Access to high-quality consultancy services improves the operational efficiency of entrepreneurs. All India financial institutions have set up TCOs to provide industrial consultancy and training to entrepreneurs. These organizations provide a comprehensive package of services. Target group. The target group refers to the group of the persons for whom the programs is designed and undertaken. Every target group has its own needs and constraints. Therefore, the programs designed for one group might be inappropriate for others group. Before the programs is designed and started, the target group to be trained must be clearly defined. An executive development program may be organized for any one of the following target groups. Technical and other qualified persons. This group consists of those persons who have pursued technical and allied courses of study. Ex-servicemen, persons who have retired from the Army, Navy and Air Force constitute an important group of entrepreneurial training. These persons have acquired many useful skills and experience during their service period. Business executives. Some business executives want to start their own independent enterprise after getting sufficient business experience. Some of them have certain innovative ideas which they are not able to try in their existing firms due to lack of sufficient authority. Some among them are not satisfied with their present economic and social status. After entrepreneurial training, senior businessmen, executives can become successful entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs. Women are entering the business, especially traditional food processing industries like spices, agarbatti, papad, etc. Several governments and non-government organizations organizing entrepreneurial training programs for women. SC and ST entrepreneurs. Government of India is committed to do upliftment of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Therefore, specified percentage of jobs has been reserved for these castes. But all persons from these groups cannot be offered employment. Government agencies give preference to SC and ST entrepreneurs in providing finance and other necessary facilities. Special agencies and schemes. The Government of India has established specialized agencies for training entrepreneurs. Special schemes have also been launched to train, develop and assist entrepreneurs. Let us now study about government policy towards small-scale industries. The Government of India for the first time tabled the new small enterprise policy titled Policy Measures for Promoting and Strengthening and Supplementing Small, Tiny and Village Enterprise in Parliament on August 6, 1991. The main thrust of the new small enterprise policy was to impart more vitality and growth impetus to the sector to enable it to contribute its might fully to the economy, particularly in terms of growth of output, employment, and exports. The salient features of the price policy were increasing in the investment limit in plant and machinery of tiny enterprises from INR 2 lakhs to INR 5 lakhs, irrespective of the location of the enterprise. Inclusion of industry-related service and business enterprises, irrespective of their location, as small-scale industries. To introduce a Limited Partnership Act. This would limit the financial liability of the new enterprises to the capital invested. Introduction of a scheme of integrated infrastructure development for small-scale industries. Introduction of factoring services to help solve the problems of delayed payments of small-scale sector. Market promotion of small-scale industries products through cooperative public sector institutions, other specialized professional marketing agencies, and the consortium approach. To set up a technology development cell in the Small Industries Development Organization. To accord priority to small and tiny sector in the allocation of indigenous raw materials. Setting up of an export development center in the Small Industries Development Organization. To widen the scope of the National Equity Fund, to enlarge the single window scheme, and also to associate commercial banks with provision of composite loans. Taxation benefits. Boon for the growth of SSI. Small-scale industries are characterized by their limited and scarce resources capital. These make them sensitive. In fact, small business in such a sensitive field where Murphy's Law seems to operate without fail. The first 1,000 days seems to be as critical in small business as in administration. The former needs support and the latter indoctrination for survival. In the beginning, small industries have to incur more expenses, but the returns are neither nil nor nominal. If this becomes uncontrollable, the unit may fall sick and needs rehabilitation before it is actually anticipated. Therefore, they need to be provided support and assistance to tide over the crucial initiation stages to enable them to survive. Hence, the government needs to come forward with various benefits to offer to small-scale industries in the country. One way to support the development of small-scale industries by the government is to provide them tax benefits. The government either exempts them from tax or provides concession in tax liability. This helps small-scale industries accumulate capital on the one hand and flow back profits to business on the other. The various tax benefits available to small-scale industries are now enumerated and discussed one by one. Tax holidays. Under Section 80J of the Income Tax Act 1961, new industrial undertakings, including small-scale industries, are exempted from the payment of income tax of their profits, subject to a maximum of 6% of annum of their capital employed. Depreciation. Under Section 32 of the Income Tax Act 1961, a small-scale industry is entitled to a deduction on depreciation on block of assets at the prescribed rate. Rehabilitation allowance. A rehabilitation allowance is granted to small-scale industries under Section 33B of the Income Tax Act 1961. Investment allowance. The investment allowance was introduced way back in 1976 to replace the initial depreciation allowance. The investment allowance under the Section 31A of the Income Tax Act 1961 is allowed at the rate of 25% of the cost of acquisition of new plant or machinery installed. Let us now move on to the next topic, entrepreneurial input. Various entrepreneurial inputs influencing the entrepreneurship are economic inputs. Economic environment exercises the most direct and immediate influence on entrepreneurship. The economic factors that affect the growth of entrepreneurship are the following. Capital. Availability of capital facilitates for the entrepreneur to bring together the land of one, machine of another, and raw material of yet another to combine them to produce goods. Labor. The quality, rather quantity of labor is another factor which influences the emergence of entrepreneurship. Most less developed countries are labor-rich nations owing to a dense and even increasing population. Raw material. The necessity of raw materials hardly needs any emphasis for establishing any industrial activity and its influence in the emergence of entrepreneurship. Market. The fact remains that the potential of the market constitutes the major determinant of probable rewards from entrepreneurial function. Infrastructure expansion of entrepreneurship presupposes properly developed communication and transportation facilities. Social inputs. Social factors can go a long way in encouraging entrepreneurship. In fact, it was a highly helpful society that made the Industrial Revolution a glorious success in Europe. The main components of social environment are as follows. Caste factor. There are certain cultural practices and values in every society which influence the actions of individuals. These practices and values have evolved over hundreds of years. Family background. This factor includes size of family, type of family, and economic status of family. In a study by Hadi Mani, it has been revealed that Zamindar family helped to gain access to political power and exhibit higher level of entrepreneurship. Education. Education enables one to understand the outside world and equips him with the basic knowledge and skills to deal with day-to-day problems. Attitude of the society. A related aspect to these is the attitude of the society towards entrepreneurship. Certain societies encourage innovations and novelties and thus approve entrepreneurs' actions and rewards like profits. Cultural values. Motives impel men to action. Entrepreneurial growth requires proper motives like profit making, acquisition of prestige, and attainment of social status. Psychological inputs. Many entrepreneurial theorists have propounded theories of entrepreneurship that concentrate especially on psychological factors. These are as follows. Need achievement. According to McClelland, need achievement is social motive to excel that tends to characterize successful entrepreneurs, especially when reinforced by cultural factors. Withdrawal of status respect. There are several other researchers who have tried to understand the psychological roots of entrepreneurship. Motives. Other psychological theories of entrepreneurship stress the motives or goals of the entrepreneurs. Cole is the opinion that besides wealth, entrepreneurs seek power, prestige, security, and service to society. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Entrepreneurship is considered to be a vital component in the process of economic growth and development for various reasons. The demand structure is not static and changes with economic progress and government policies. The target group refers to the group of the persons for whom the programs is designed and undertaken. Market promotion of small-scale industries, products through cooperative, public sector institutions and other specialized professional marketing agencies and the consortium approach. EDP is primarily concerned with developing and motivating entrepreneurial talent and growing him to be an effective entrepreneur.